Hey, good morning, good morning, guys. I hope all is well with you guys. Hey, I wanted to hop on here before y'all get your day started, and I wanted to hop on here and to share a dream. And I had this dream that I was in this huge office building, and it was a lot of men and a lot of women, and they were working around me. And from the look of it, it looks as if that everybody looked it as though they were fine. They were smiling, talking, they were doing their jobs, and they were meeting their expectation. But in the dream, every so often, someone would bend over and hold their stomach. And at first, it seemed like it was a casual gesture, but it was really, or it was actual a quiet signal of pain. And their faces would show like brief tension, but they would quickly straighten up and they would begin to smile and they would begin to carry on. They would continue to do what they were doing. And from the look of it, they were not weak, or it didn't seem as if that they were failing. But the crazy thing is in the dream is that I noticed that a lot of them had learned how to function with their pain. In other words, they got into a place where they were able to hide it so well that no one noticed. And it was some of them that was hiding it so well that they themselves couldn't even notice it. And in the dream, God spoke to me something that was so profound that the Lord told me, He said, son, this is what unnamed pain does. It hides itself in plain sight. But then as long as it's hiding itself, then it quietly have the ability to control a person's choices and their decisions, even their relationship. And the thing that God pointed out, He said, but son, it has the ability to control self-perception only until it's brought into the light. And that's why I wanted to hop on here, because this is something that we don't talk about, and you don't hear much people say anything about, because just like me, I was in that place. Because there are some things that hide behind our smile and hide behind what we look at as being strength. So that's why I wanted to hop on here and to really help you understand the danger of knowing how to manage your pain without ever naming it. It can be a very dangerous thing, y'all, when y'all find people such as myself at one point in my life where I learned how to manage my pain without ever naming it. And I was so good at it that in the eyes of the people, I never appeared to be broken. I never looked as though I was unstable. And it wasn't in such a way where you could look and see that I was visibly struggling. But the danger was, y'all, that I was able to make it seem like that I was still functioning, that I was capable. I was one of those ones that would still show up to work, and I would still take care of others, and I would still have that smile. And every time you saw me, I was smiling, and people just say, you love to smile. But at the same time, they couldn't catch me because I was still able to hold conversations, whether they were everyday conversation or whether it was an intelligent conversation. I was still able to meet certain expectations. And I was able to talk about certain things and explain certain things, y'all, when I was conversating with people. And the conversation, it sounded reasonable. So it was hard for people to detect. What are you saying, Prophet? I had to master that thing where I was able to make it happen. I was able to put all of it together so that it wouldn't be noticed. And I had that thing mastered. I was functioning in such a way where no one would ever be able to look at me or be able to conversate with me and know that I was hurting. Am I talking to somebody? Y'all know how we can fix things up and how we can master things and we can sound like we have control over life. But the thing that I had to come to the point of realizing that I was able to handle or manage my pain, but I wasn't able to name it. And what's crazy is because a lot of times the pain wasn't loud, it was not dramatic, it was not chaotic. It was a pain that I learned how to manage in such a way where to when people looked, they would look at things as being organized in my life. I've learned, and at that point, had gotten to a place where I learned when to speak and when to stay silent, and had it mastered, y'all, where people couldn't really see the pain because they was looking at the strength that I was exemplifying external. But could I just be real with you? And I had to learn this. And the Lord began to walk me through this, and I remember the Lord telling me, he said, son, pain that is hidden cannot be healed. That's the type of pain, y'all, that is the most dangerous pain a person can experience. Why? Because it does not cry out for healing. It simply adapts. What do you mean, prophet? It learns how to survive. It learns how to self-regulate without a person ever having to do a self-examining. I'm telling you, pain would destroy you. Because pain will teach you, it will learn you how to justify your choices and your decision using languages, just like me, that was sounding healthy, that was sounding like everything was okay. And that language began to tell other people when they talk to you, you put a pretense out there where you're really hurting, but the way that you've mastered that thing, what you're telling them, I'm not hurting. I just want to improve some things in life. And when you done learn how to master it, don't allow you to say, I don't feel safe in my own skin. It says I'm doing fine. There's nothing wrong. And simply because the language sounds so strong, no one will begin to question, no one would wonder, no one will begin to contemplate, or no one would think differently. I've been there. I mastered that thing. And when you know how to master, people don't question you. They won't try to see or question the wound that's underneath, because you don't present it that way. But I remember walking through this thing, and I remember God telling me, he said, son, unnamed pain always look for an outlet. Because how many of y'all know that pain that is not brought into the light, it will eventually begin to make decisions for your soul? What you mean, prophet? It will quietly shape your desires. It would quietly shape your motivations and your choices. And if you're not careful, it's almost like it would turn mirrors into judges, where worth is constantly evaluated. You will begin to always have the spotlight on you. And it will even get to the point where it will turn your bodies into projects that's always needing to approve me. And it would make you feel like that you're not good enough, that God didn't make you the way that you thought that he should have made you. I went through that, y'all, and then that's when I began to understand that this thing was trying to affect my identity in such a way where my identity almost became flexible. It was conditional. It wasn't rooted, y'all. It wasn't secure. That's why we got to be really in a place, y'all, of not just managing our pain, but to name the pain. And sometimes that thing will convince you that the change is the answer. But at the same time, you find yourself avoiding the deeper question of what is actually asking to be healed. When I thought about this, I thought about Psalms 42:5. Say, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my ancient thoughts. And how many of y'all know God does not heal what we hide? He heals what we invite him to examine. That's why another scripture, Psalms 42:5, and it says, why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you disquieted within me? Notice that the Psalm, he did not ignore his inner unrest. He named it. He spoke to it. Because how many of y'all know naming pain is the first step towards restoring the order within yourself? And I had to find this out, y'all, that when pain goes unnamed, it does not just disappear. And I remember God telling me that years ago. Son, as long as it remained unnamed, it's not going to disappear. He said the only thing that it's doing, son, is relocating. And once it relocates, son, it's migrating into your habits. It's becoming a part of your coping mechanism, and it's becoming a part of your preference, and it's becoming a part of your behavior. Now that thing began to influence how I was able to look at myself and what I believed about myself. Yeah. This is how those inward wounds not only get started, but this is how inward wounds get treated with what I call an outward solution. But how come you have so many people keep changing their appearance, their environments, their relationship, their careers, their identity, hoping one of them will finally quiet what was never confronted? How many of y'all ever been there? When I thought about this, I thought about the movie Black Swan, where it was Nina appeared disciplined and focused and controlled and was very high and functioning. She was not chaotic in the movie. She was not reckless. She was precise. But here's the truth of the matter. But beneath the perfection, it was unnamed pressure. There was unprocessed fear. And there was a desperate need for approval. This is what we have to understand, because instead of naming our inner fractures, you see so many people that try to perfect the outside. And the craziest thing is the only result that they're getting is that they're not getting freedom, but they're experiencing a collapsing on the inside. And that's what I liked about the movie Black Swan, because what really happened, it shows you that when pain is managed through control instead of healed through truth, my God, perfection becomes your prison and excellency becomes your self-destruction. So what are you talking about, prophet? Because what I want you to know, that this is not a weakness. This is survival without healing. What do you mean it's survival without healing? Y'all know how it is. A person that in survival mode, it can look like they're gaining ground. It can look very impressive. It looks as if that they're progressing. And then you will have people looking at you and people praising your strength, but not really understanding and seeing that your soul is exhausted. It's survivor to the world, but it's prison for you internal. That's why Jesus said, you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. And how many of y'all know freedom requires truth? And truth requires naming. And God spoke to me, he said, son, healing does not begin when you cope better. Healing begins when you tell the truth about where it hurts. And the Lord spoke this to me. He said, son, pain you refuse to name will eventually name your decisions. My God. They will eventually name your choices. And the Lord told me, say, son, what you manage instead of healing will quietly govern your life. And that's when I had to come to the point of realization that survivor keeps you functioning, but healing sets you free. And the Lord told me, he said, son, whenever survivor is left unchecked, it would eventually become your prison. So I wanted to hop on here, and I just want you to pause for a minute and ask yourself, what am I managing instead of naming? What am I surviving instead of healing? I want you to focus on that. Just want you to be honest with yourself. Because what God is wanting, he don't want you to just manage your pain. He wants you to be able to name your pain. I mean, even in the natural, the first step of getting healed or receiving a healing, you have to be able to, one, acknowledge it by just naming it. Not just trying to manage, but you got to be able to name it. And that's what God is saying this morning. And I just wanted to hop on here and to share this with you guys. I love you, and continue to enjoy the rest of your day.